You have probably met someone with a wall full of diplomas who somehow lacks basic common sense. Consider the electrical engineer who has to call a repairman to fix a standard household toaster, or the PhD graduate who has zero social empathy. The academic credential is there, but the real-world application grinds to a halt. We treat education as a transaction. You sit at a desk, accumulate data, pass an exam, and trade those memorized facts in for a piece of paper. The system rewards retention, not actual understanding. This approach reduces us to biological tape recorders. We become parrots, capable only of repeating exactly what we hear without ever processing the information. Even back in the mid-20th century, author Nguyen Du C. Kun felt this exact frustration. Looking out at the changing society of 1960s Saigon, he realized that despite finishing his formal schooling, he hadn't learned anything of real value. His head was full, but his mind felt empty. Which leaves us with a serious question. If passing tests and collecting degrees doesn't make someone truly educated, how does actual learning happen? True wisdom is completely untransferable. Nobody can summarize their life's insight and hand it to you on a silver platter. There is an old parable about an Arab king who demanded his scholars condense all human knowledge into a single sentence. After years of agonizing work, they returned with one line: "Man is born, suffers, and dies." The king was furious. Without the thousands of pages of context, the summary was painfully obvious and completely useless. The philosopher Zhuangzi made a similar point with the story of a wheelwright. The craftsman argued he couldn't teach his own son the exact feeling of carving wood. The muscle memory and intuition were entirely internal. Reading the words of ancient geniuses is exactly the same. Without your own internal context, you are merely picking through their leftover dregs. Reading, listening, and observing do not equal learning. They are just the gathering of raw materials. Think about a sheep grazing in a field. It consumes grass all day long, but it doesn't spit out grass. It metabolizes those nutrients to grow wool. Or look at a silkworm. It eats mulberry leaves, but it spins silk. This diagram tracks how raw facts undergo Than Hoa, a Vietnamese concept that translates to spiritual assimilation or digestion. Watch how these rigid geometric shapes enter the system. To be useful, they have to dissolve and chemically react with your own memories, emotions, and worldview to become a fluid part of your mind. There is a strange paradox to this digestion. When you first learn to ride a bicycle, you memorize rules about balance and steering, but to actually ride smoothly, you have to completely forget those mechanics. A truly educated person has digested their knowledge so thoroughly that it feels as though they have forgotten everything they ever read. This level of internal digestion requires massive effort. Why not take the path of least resistance? Why not live like a beggar, sleeping blissfully in the afternoon sun, completely free from the burden of deep thought? Thinkers like Goethe and the French writer André Gide looked directly at that simple, mindless happiness and rejected it. They wanted to be conscious. They chose the active, difficult happiness that comes from wrestling with the world. The true work of culture is to expand the soul until it is wide enough to hold conflicting ideas without breaking. A narrow mind, one that only knows how to repeat undigested dogma, struggles to appreciate anything outside its own immediate preferences. By breaking down and assimilating a vast range of human knowledge, a person replaces rigid certainty with a deeper, more tolerant understanding of the world. You might assume this profound level of understanding is reserved for born geniuses, people blessed with robust health and photographic memories. Charles Darwin suffered from chronic physical illness for most of his adult life, and he openly admitted his memory was notoriously terrible. The philosopher Herbert Spencer could rarely work for more than an hour at a time without severe physical pain. Yet both produced immortal works. These figures relied on a methodical, patient approach to daily self-renewal. They lived by the principle of Kul Nyet Tun, making themselves new every single day. Stop treating your brain like a hard drive. stop collecting facts just to pass the next test. Gather the raw materials and begin the slow, deliberate work of digesting them.